once in a while, we're going to take a detour out of the book of Romans to talk about a topic that the book of Romans is speaking about. And as you know, in Romans chapter 1, one of the issues that is spoken of is this issue of homosexuality.
Of course, it's only an issue because your outdated book says it is. Hello everyone, I'm with me, and today we're going to be responding to a video called How Same-Sex Marriage Hurts Everyone. Browsing Mr. Sparks' YouTube channel is kind of interesting. He seems he re-uploads more content than he makes content, but whatever. Let's just get on with the video.
Paul calls it indecent acts that men gave up the natural function to sleep with other men and women did the same.
But what about people who are bisexual? I mean, I'm bisexual, meaning I'll be in a relationship with a guy and have sex with him. But if that relationship breaks off and I find a woman who likes me, I'll be willing to be in a relationship with her as well. I didn't suddenly stop wanting to have sex or like women just because I found out I like men too. I don't think you get how sexuality works.
And he says that this is one stage of depravity that ultimately leads into insanity.
Well, I'm not insane yet. I'll let you know if I go crazy though.
So we're going to talk about, as we talked about last time, the fact that same-sex marriage is how this issue is manifested in our culture today, and we're going to talk about how there's nothing gay about same-sex marriage.
You're an asshole, aren't you?
And how same-sex marriage will hurt everyone, and I'll explain what that means here in just a minute. And we're not really going to use the Bible to make our case here. But let's review very briefly where we were last time. We talked about the question, why should Christians care about this issue? And last time we mentioned that this issue is a very important issue to the moral health of our nation.
Why do you automatically assume it's an issue? Oh, boo-hoo, my traditional morals are being hurt. Fuck off, nobody gives a shit.
And I'll explain what I mean by that in just a minute. I also want to point out that we will be correct, not politically correct.
God doesn't exist. What? He's said to be correct, not politically correct.
This will not be an issue, or this will not be a segment where we're going to be talking about gay bashing or any of that. We're just going to try and give good reasons why we think, or why I think anyway, that same-sex marriage ought not be endorsed by the federal or state government.
Alright, let's see those reasons.
And you'll see why that's the case in just a minute.
Alright, then hurry up then.
Why should the state endorse traditional marriage? And we pointed out that traditional marriage is our national immune system. When our marriages are strong, our country is strong. When our marriages are weak, our country is weak.
What? How is two people getting married suddenly going to make America either stronger or weaker?
And you can look at the weakening of our nation when we basically got rid of traditional marriage and made it much easier for divorce to occur.
If you're unhappy with somebody, you should allow them to leave. Why do you think that's a problem?
We've seen a number of social problems that have resulted pretty much as a direct result of liberalizing marriage laws or making divorce easier to come by. And we pointed out that traditional marriage is really, it is the foundation of a civilized society. The best form of government is a two-parent, mom-dad family.
Yikes, you're really harping on about this tradition shit.
Traditionally, science fairs are a father-son thing.
Well, scientifically, traditions are an idiot thing.
Let me ask you this. If I have a dad who's gay and is unhappy in his heterosexual, meaning not gay, relationship, is it healthier for me to grow up while my parents argue and fight? Or is it healthier for me to be in a family where two gay dads or two gay moms are happy together? Just because it's tradition doesn't automatically make it just and right.
We pointed this out last time. When you have strong families, you have lower social costs and lower welfare. You have domesticated men. Remember how we talked about how men are predators? Single men are predators. We talked about this last time. So single women don't trust single men.
Then how in the fuck are you supposed to find somebody if they're not single? Or is that just a shitty joke? I'm going with the latter.
One of the beneficial aspects of traditional marriage is it domesticates men. It also protects women from uncommitted men, because women give up a lot more in a marriage than do men.
Okay.
We also talked about how the fact that abortion, child abuse, a number of other issues go away when people live faithfully in traditional marriage.
Oh my God, where is that statistic?
It's the best place to raise children. We talked about how children do better in a two-parent mother-father home, much better than those who are outside of a two-parent home.
Who says you have to be married to tend to children? Who says you have to have a child when you're married? I feel as if those traditions have changed. Typically, marriage is about mother, father, and 2 kids. Shit's changed now. Some parents only have 1 kid. Other parents have more than 2. Some marriages even have no kids.
Holy shit!
Dun dun dun!
So it's our national immune system. And then we talked about why should the state not endorse same-sex marriage. And we pointed out this quote. He says, across history and cultures, marriage's single most fundamental idea is that every child needs a mother and a father. Changing marriage to accommodate same-sex couples would nullify this principle in culture and in law. We talked about it last time. There's only 3 things the government can do on any issue. The first thing it can do is prohibit it. Could prohibit the activity. It could permit the activity, or it could go further and promote the activity.
Well, I'm glad the government isn't prohibiting it anymore.
We used the example last time of alcohol. For a while, we prohibited alcohol. Now we permitted alcohol use, but we still have restrictions on it, and we don't allow anybody at any time, for any reason, under any circumstances, to use it.
Are you about to compare same-sex marriage to alcohol? Please tell me you're not going to.
Now, when it comes to marriage, traditional marriage, we not only permit it, we promote it, because the government wins, and everybody wins when people stay together in traditional two-marriage or traditional two-parent families.
Unless they get married just because it's tradition when they actually don't want to get married.
What we can't do is promote same-sex marriage. Why not? Because by legalizing same-sex marriage or civil unions, because that's also a promotion of the behavior,
Destructive behavior? What the fuck is this?
we will be promoting behavior that will hurt traditional marriage and children, that it will also hurt you as an individual citizen, and ironically it would hurt homosexuals themselves.
How? How will it hurt you as an individual? It's not like allowing same-sex marriage will legalize same-sex people to fuck in the middle of the street. If you don't want to see it, you don't have to. Nobody is forcing you to watch as people of the same sex get married and possibly have sex.
Why is it going to hurt traditional marriage and children? Because it will break the link between childbearing and marriage. Because if marriage is just about coupling, if same-sex couples can get married and it's just the same relationship legally and culturally as traditional marriage, then no longer is marriage about children.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Marriage is just about coupling, and when marriage is just about coupling, then people no longer get married to have children, but you notice they have children anyway. They have children out of wedlock. There are no illegitimate children, there are only illegitimate parents. And when people have children out of wedlock, they not only break up at higher rates than people who are in marriage, but they create society a whole number of other problems. Because now these children are out there and society winds up picking up the tab. Not only in terms of all the social costs and welfare, but also in the costs of crime.
You have a lot of conspiracy theories, don't you? Do you believe that if there are too many people, the flat earth will tilt and it will cause people to slide off into the ocean? Because I wouldn't be surprised.
And I don't have time to go into the next 2 about you being hurt and homosexuals. It's on the DVD from last time, so get that.
I'm not gonna buy your fucking shitty ass DVD.
But let's now move on to a couple of quotes we used last time, because I think it sets the tone for what we're trying to do. This is what David Kupelian says about love. He says, we've forgotten in society what love is because supporting and justifying homosexuality is not real love any more than glorifying drinking helps the alcoholic or celebrating smoking helps wipe out lung cancer. He says the most loving stance for others to take, for us and others to take, is not to serve as enablers of self-destructive and immoral compulsions, but to stand in patient and firm opposition.
What's up with you assholes and thinking that same-sex marriage is self-destructive? Also, you don't know how people who like the same sex actually feel, so take your stupid bullshit about real love and shove it up your ass. It's already been pulled out of your ass, so shove it back up, please. Thank you.
We have to stand in patient and firm opposition, just like we do when our children do things that we know are going to hurt them. And then we talked about Jay Budziszewski's quote about false compassion. He says, real compassion ought to make us visit the prisoner, dry out the alcoholic, help the pregnant girl prepare for the baby, and encourage the young homosexual to live chastely. But how much easier it is to forget the prisoner, give the drunk a drink, send the girl to the abortionist, and tell the kid to just give in. False compassion is a great deal less work than true.
I hate how you group homosexuality with things like alcohol and smoking cigarettes. Oh, by the way, I don't give a shit about these stupid-ass quotes from assholes like you. I could show quotes from people who support gay marriage. Would that change your mind? By the way, it's 2018 and society hasn't collapsed yet. What happened? I thought the gays were going to ruin everything.
And it is. And Christians have been cowards on this issue. We've been hiding under the table while homosexual activists take over and change the culture.
No, you guys have been as active as ever in trying to get rid of gay marriage.
And we're just hiding under the table saying, well, it's much more compassionate just to say, it's all about love, go ahead. Well, it's not all about love, and we'll explain that a little bit later.
I don't know when this was recorded, but I do know one thing. If it wasn't all about love then, it is now.
Now, let's answer all the objections if we can, and here are some of the objections. We want equal rights. Don't put discrimination in the Constitution, because there's a constitutional amendment that's out there to try and ban same-sex marriage.
They aren't saying that homosexuals aren't supposed to be married is in the Constitution. They're saying that they should be able to marry just like people who are straight.
Homosexuality is like race.
Nobody is saying homosexuality is a race.
Homosexuals were born that way.
But they are born that way. I've always questioned my sexuality, even when I was religious, so you can't tell me God made me homosexual. It took 3 or 4 years after my deconversion from Christianity to realize that I am indeed like a bisexual.
Homosexuals can't change.
They can't change.
Some animals engage in the behavior.
Some animals do engage in homosexual behavior. I think that was more for the homosexual is unnatural argument than it was for the homosexual should be married argument, though. Just saying.
Opposing same-sex marriage is like opposing interracial marriage. Opposing same-sex marriage is bigotry. You've heard these. Same-sex marriage is about love. Homosexual couples have been together for years, so that proves that we ought to make it universal.
I don't know what that point you made was, so we'll just move on.
Same-sex or some marriages do not produce children. You've already ruined marriage through divorce. And why are you singling out homosexuality? Why don't you talk about divorce and adultery and all those other things you Christians do? You know, you ought not judge anyway. And by the way, you're just a homophobe.
Well, you are. If you do not like gay people and think that gay people will literally destroy society, you are the literal definition of a homophobe.
And then the big one that's thrown out a lot is this is a separation of church and state issue, and you Christians are trying to impose your religion on us, and you know that that can't be done according to the First Amendment.
That's what a lot of Christians are trying to do. That point is valid, and you know it is.
There are resources you can get on the web right now that cover most of what I'm going to talk about. Here are a number of places you can go to get information on this issue. Crossexamine.org, that's our website. If you go there, you can get information on this issue. Other places you can go are frc.org, americansfortruth.org, allianceformarriage.org, that's the one I was talking about last week that Matt Daniels runs. str.org, that's for Stand to Reason. Coalitionofconscience.org, that's actually one here in Charlotte, North Carolina, run by Michael Brown, the Reverend Michael Brown, very good organization. And our other organization is called impactapologetics.com.
Here's a bunch of biased sources. Are you convinced yet?
The two bookends, crossexamine.org and impactapologetics.com. If you go to either one of those sites and click on resources, you can get a free download of the case against same-sex marriage without using the Bible. Okay, it's a PDF, and it has most of what I'm going to talk about here in it. Okay, so make a note of that. Go to, it's really on the Impact site, impactapologetics.com, but you can get there through crossexamine.org, and you can download this PDF and have most of what I'm going to talk about here tonight and last week. Okay,
I might actually cover that at some point. Thanks for the video ideas.
You guys ready to go? All right, let's deal with this. You're trying to impose your religion on me. Okay, this is the separation of church and state objection. First of all, can anyone in here quote the First Amendment? What does the First Amendment say? Anyone? To the United States Constitution. This is known as the interactive portion of the program. What is the First Amendment? What does it say? The First Amendment says, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion nor prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Did anyone hear the word separation, church and state in there anywhere? No.
That is implied. Saying no establishment of religion is basically the same thing as separation of church and state.
The separation of church and state came into our law through a court decision in 1947, the Everson Court, where they pulled a quote from an old Thomas Jefferson letter and put it into a Supreme Court opinion. And from that point on, we've thought the church and the state are to be completely separate.
Hey, that reminds me of when we added "In God We Trust" on our money, and when we added "One Nation Under God" in our Pledge of Allegiance. Let's get rid of those. Also, what don't you understand? Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. That means Congress does not support any establishment of any religion under the law. Do you know what that means? That means that the church and the government are separate. That also means that the states are separate too. Congress will not allow the church to make laws that go with their dogma under the United States. For example, they can't make a law saying that they want to stone gays. That is unconstitutional.
You can read all about it in the book Legislating Morality, also available at impactapologetics.com. But that's not even the issue. Forget separation of church and state for a minute. Let's point out that morality, not religion, is being legislated.
Well, so far your moral arguments are nothing but a bunch of conspiracies, so I'm going to take those with a grain of salt.
See, religion has to do with our duty to God. Separation of church and state is not the issue. The issue is not religion, but morality. Religion has to do with our duty to God, but morality has to do with our duty to one another.
Some Christians argue it is their duty to God to stop same-sex marriage.
Nobody in this debate is telling anybody how, when, where, if to worship. Right? I'm not trying to tell people who think that they're involved in homosexual activity that they ought to go to a particular church or worship in a certain way. That's not the point here. We're not talking about religion. We're talking about morality. Religion's our duty to God, and morality's our duty to one another. And I've got news for you. You've heard it how many times? You can't legislate morality, right? That is the only thing you can legislate.
Being gay isn't moral or immoral. Being gay is not a choice. It's simply something that you are. I'll have a link to a video by Cosmic Skeptic addressing the point of homosexuality and its moral standing. It's a great video, and I recommend it.
Some churches are against same-sex marriage, but that doesn't preclude civil laws against it. Otherwise, we couldn't have laws against murder, rape, theft. You say, well, it's in the Bible that homosexuality is a problem, right? That might be true. But it's also in the Bible that murder's a problem, that theft is a problem, that rape is a problem. In fact, if you can't legislate principles consistent with the Bible, then we can't have laws against murder, rape, theft, or anything else the Bible talks about.
It's also in the Bible that owning slaves is okay. Oh, you didn't know that? Well, I have a link to a video where I talk about slavery in the Bible. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And please leave a like if you did. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
You ever look at too much hentai down the road and consider maybe I should be a little closer to Jesus than I am now?